I've been thinking about the recent share of blockbuster movies, and it seems if you're not a superhero or too fast, too furious, then you're an old franchise made new. Everything from Men in Black to Terminator to Star Wars to Terminator to Terminator has been dusted off and put back on display. And you know what? They've mostly fallen flat, in my opinion. Sure, there have been some exceptions, but by and large, these sequels just haven't worked. So I started wondering why. Why is it so hard to make a sequel to a beloved franchise? And I think I figured it out. I think it boils down to endings. My name is Andrew Hara, a writer director. On this episode of Deep Dives, I want to talk about endings. Obvious spoilers for the Star Wars saga, the Rambo franchise, and the Terminator catastrophe. All good endings have a point where the story's finished. The characters have grown in some way, and maybe the world we entered has even changed. Take Star Wars, for instance. The original trilogy is one long story told over three movies. By the time we find ourselves on Endor at the end of Return of the Jedi, farm boy Luke Skywalker has transformed into a Jedi, his father, Darth Vader, has brought balance to the Force, and the evil Empire has been destroyed. All our arcs and stories have reached their conclusion, and we say goodbye to our friends with the best song ever made. No, 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 not that song. This song. But a movie doesn't have to be a connected story for it to have a good ending. Look at Rambo. Each movie tells its own story. They aren't really connected besides Vietnam vet John Rambo. The first movie has John coming back to America to find some peace after the horrors of Vietnam, where he is harassed by local police and ends up bringing the horror to them. Part 2 finds John in Vietnam, trying to save POWs. And part 3, in a strange bit of history, has him fighting in Afghanistan with a group that would eventually form the Taliban. At the beginning of each story, we often find John Rambo hiding away somewhere,
I put in my time.
What's that mean?
It means my war's over.
trying to find peace.
When are you going to come full circle?
What are you talking about?
You said that your war is over. Now, maybe the one out there is, but not the one inside you.
And only reluctantly getting involved.
Why are you pushing me? What did you say? So why are you pushing me? I haven't done anything to you.
Despite being the perfect killing machine.
You know what you are. What you're made of. War's in your blood.
Even though the movies aren't connected, Sylvester Stallone latched on to that idea of peace for Rambo, the fourth movie in the franchise. After yet another battle, rescuing missionaries, John finds himself in an unfamiliar place, home. The movie ends with Rambo returning to his family farm in America, finding the peace he had been seeking since First Blood. He walks down a long dirt road over the credits, which even ties into the movie's first theme song, literally titled A Long Road.
It's a long road when you're on your own.
Now, this ending works for both the film Rambo and for the series as a whole. It was a beautiful way to put a finality to the series. The Terminator franchise also tried to find peace in its past. The original movie tells the story of Sarah Connor, a young waitress who is stalked not only by the titular killing machine, but by a young soldier trying to save her. Both have been sent back in time to find Sarah, because she is important to their present and our future.
He turned it around. He brought us back from the brink. His name is Connor. John Connor. Your son, Sarah.
Sarah and her protector Kyle Reese eventually fall in love and succeed, not only at stopping the Terminator, but also at creating John Connor, the future leader. In the sequel, we follow a young John as he is now hunted by a Terminator and now has his own Terminator to protect him, along with his hardened mother. I feel like future John isn't sending any more fuckboy soldiers back to help his mother. By the end of that film, both Terminators have been destroyed, as well as any evidence of their creation, which would essentially stop the war before it could even begin. Sarah ponders a now unknown future.
I face it for the first time with a sense of hope.
You see, good endings satisfy all our questions and put a period to the story, which becomes a problem when you want to continue that story. Each of these movies have recently had sequels, or even whole sagas added to them, and therein lies the problem. Take Rambo, for instance. Last Blood finds John on his farm, where he eventually goes to war with the cartels after they kill his young friend. Likewise, Star Wars finds a new order, a stand in for the Empire, equipped with its own army and ready to unveil their own Death Star. I mean, this scene perfectly explains my whole point. They show the original Death Star and add in a bigger Death Star that's bigger. It's the same, but bigger. There's nothing new about this situation. Let's move to Terminator again. In Dark Fate, we find Sarah Connor not only helping the old Terminator, but a new Terminator, as they help to protect a new boring protagonist. Eventually, she'll become the new John Connor and lead a resistance against a different Terminator uprising who also just happened to make evil robots and call them Terminators. I guess all evil robots will eventually make Terminators. It'll be up to her to bore them and the audience to death. Each one of these films takes the ending we saw and disregards them, either in part or completely, to tell a familiar story. The problem is you just can't do that. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting to tell a new story in any of these franchises, and you could. Each of them have big enough worlds that you could tell a number of stories in them. The problem is how they get us there. The world we enter in The Force Awakens feels very much like the world we entered in A New Hope, one with a menacing all-powerful empire fighting against a lonely group of rebellers. The problem is that world no longer exists, and the Force Awakens world is not the one we left in Return of the Jedi. That world had found peace and destroyed the empire after years of war. So to undo that and add in a new empire leads us to ask questions that are never answered. We don't know how this new order has taken over, or why the Republic was so powerless to stop them, or who this Snoke is. They say he's been around since A New Hope, but that means there was never a balance in the Force, and all the sacrifice in Return of the Jedi was seemingly for nothing. Plus, with no explanation, it's hard to connect to this world, as we're constantly being asked to both remember and misremember things from the original saga. In the original film, the Empire was status quo. We didn't need to understand how they came to power, even if George Lucas made us find out.
Misa propose.
But in Force Awakens, we don't know how this army came to power, and we need that answer, because if not, we're just left with questions. Add in a cast of new characters who feel too much like the originals, and it just doesn't work, because the characters feel like byproducts of the movie and not the world, as if the studio didn't ask who would be the best protagonist of the series, but instead, who is our Luke Skywalker? Who is our Han Solo? And who is our Han Solo? And can we get a Han Solo? They all act like Han Solo. Kylo Ren is the son of Han and Leia, and he's become so obsessed with Darth Vader that he wants to fulfill the very prophecy that Anakin turned his back on. Ren is connected to all the original characters. Even Luke failed to train him, but feels like a byproduct of the events of the story in the movies, and not the movies themselves. For all the problems that The Last Jedi had, all of them, I think it's the best in the series. By letting go of Snoke and Luke, it opened the door for the films to go their own way. And that door was quickly shut and nailed down by J.J. Abrams for Rise of Skywalker. Last Blood, the Rambo movie, also takes away the happy ending we saw, as our favorite veteran is once again in a war that he must end. The only difference is that in Last Blood, Rambo has searched out the role. He is no longer the roaming samurai, but is active in the story. His character as one searching for peace is replaced with a blood-seeking revenge killer. While the franchise is known for bloody deaths and gruesome kills, the character was never one to seek out violence.
That why they pick you? Because you like to fight?
I'm expendable.
His violence was always in service of something, from saving POWs to rescuing missionaries to just trying to get out of Oregon. Rambo's violence was always to accomplish a goal. It was a means to an end, and he would avoid it if he could.
It's not my fault! I don't want any more hurt!
So his bloodlust just doesn't ring true. Rambo was born in the horrors of Vietnam. For him to seek justice, something Rambo didn't believe in, just seems out of character for someone so disillusioned with the world. Last Blood feels more like a sequel to Cobra, another Stallone creation, as that character believed in justice beyond anything else. Furthermore, Rambo was a tactical genius. He used his wits and his skills to get out of situations. But now, he's replaced with someone who walks straight into a group of cartels, resulting in almost being beaten to death. Again, that's like what Cobra would do. This should have been called Cobra, the Last Cobra.
I'll blow this whole place up!
Go ahead. I don't shop here.
This shows us a misunderstanding of the character and makes us feel like the filmmakers weren't paying attention. Again, there is no explanation as to why Rambo has become this person, and the connection that he supposedly has with this young girl is never really shown to the audience. So we're left thinking that Rambo will just use any excuse to cut off heads. Terminator Dark Fate takes it one step further and literally kills John Connor in the opening scene. All the sequels erase the events of the first two with the time travel aspects of the series, but at least they knew how important John Connor was. In Dark Fate, John Connor is killed and we cut to a new John Connor. She will be the one who will lead the resistance. James Cameron, the creator of the series, said he did this to raise the stakes. Unfortunately, it does the opposite. In fact, they all do. With these sequels trying to be so much like the original, they have destroyed their own stakes. What difference does it make if Sarah or John or even this new person dies? Because there will always be someone to rise up against the Terminators, and apparently there will always be Terminators to fight. There will always be a dark empire and a group of young rebels to resist with the help of a Jedi or two. Rambo will always find some war to fight. This puts us on a story loop, and that just doesn't work. But on a subconscious level, we understand that the stakes are no longer there. And thus it's hard to get invested in this new world as it becomes a pseudo remake of the original. That's not to say that movies shouldn't have sequels. One of the best examples of a great sequel is Empire Strikes Back. In that sequel, we're treated to all new worlds. We meet interesting new characters and the coolest guy in the whole universe.
How you doing, Chewbacca? You still hanging around with this loser?
And our heroes are put in situations and face obstacles that we've never seen them face before, using the things they've learned so far to move forward instead of standing still. Mission Impossible and Mad Max have also been able to add entries into their series that felt fresh and even improved upon them while under the umbrella of major studios. And we can't forget about the best franchise of all time. Add in The Rock, make them all super spies, despite the fact that in the original they were car thieves. And you got yourself a franchise, baby. I joke, but every entry of The Fast and the Furious builds on the other one. Enemies become friends, relationships change and mature, children are added, characters even quit the lifestyle. Every episode builds on another one, even if they keep getting sillier.
I just gotta go to work.
I think going forward, the studios have to take this into consideration. If they want to give us new stories, then they have to give us new stories. Grow from what we've seen and learned, and not just a rehash. Or do the thing that the originals did so well. Let them end.